I was coming back from a late shift, the kind where the streetlights flicker and the city seems to be half asleep. Anyway, I hailed a cab to get home. I hop into the backseat, and the driver's this middle-aged guy, friendly enough. We start the usual small talk. But then, out of the blue, the driver starts telling me these stories. I mean, I'm just a guy trying to get home, not some eager listener at a campfire. But hey, I'm not one to shut someone down. So, we're driving along, and he starts talking about one particular night that got him spooked. It's not the kind of story you'd hear every day, and for some reason, it stuck with me like gum on a shoe. He says he picks up this young woman, nothing out of the ordinary. She hops in, and they start chatting about life, the city, regular stuff. But then, as he's driving, she suggests a different way, claiming she ain't comfortable with the road he's on. No big deal, right? People have their preferences. The driver, being the easygoing guy he is, takes the suggested route. They're still chatting away, but after a while, he realizes something ain't right. The woman's gone silent. Now you might think big deal, people stop talking. But here's the kicker, he turns around, and there's no one there. I'm telling you, this guy looks me dead in the eyes, his face pale as a sheet, and he says, I turned around, and she was just gone. Vanished. Like she was never there. Now, I'm not one to easily buy into this kind of stuff, but there was something in the way he told it. It sent shivers down my spine. The driver goes on, saying he slammed on the brakes, checked the back seat, but there was no sign of her anywhere. The street was empty, just the glow of the streetlights flickering on wet pavement. Scared and confused, he turns back to the road, and get this, he never went back to that way after that day. I asked him why, thinking maybe the road was haunted or something, but he just shook his head and mumbled about never wanting to take chances again. The crazy thing is, by the time he finished the story, we were at my place. I paid him, got out of the cab, and watched as he drove off into the night. But here's the thing, folks, I live alone, and that story, well, it messed with my head. I kept wondering if the story was real or if the guy just made it up to freak people out. I mean, why would he tell a random passenger something like that? I'll be honest with you, I was not able to sleep well that night. If you ever find yourself in a cab, just hope your driver ain't got a story that'll haunt your dreams. Let me tell you about the weirdest night me and my buddy Mike had. It was a few weeks back, and we were out bar hopping in the city. You know, the usual stuff, a bit too much to drink, laughing at dumb jokes, and all that. But things took a turn when we decided to call it a night. It was close to 2 a.m., and we were stumbling down this sketchy side street, desperately waving our hands at passing cars like drunken idiots. Then out of nowhere, this beat-up taxi pulls up. The dude behind the wheel looked like he'd seen better days, but hey, it was a ride. We hopped in, thinking it was just gonna be a quiet ride back to the hotel. But that's when things got real weird real fast. The driver, let's call him Dave, starts chatting with us. At first, it was just the usual small talk, weather, sports, that sort of thing. Seemed like a regular guy. But then, out of the blue, he starts talking about serial killers. He went on and on about him. Like, who does that? He starts spewing these graphic details about what he'd do with bodies if he was some psycho killer, trying to dodge the cops. I swear, I could almost smell the crazy in the air. And then he drops this bomb. He says most serial killers have the middle name Wayne. Wayne. Like, what the hell? And get this, he says if he ever has a son, he's gonna name him Wayne, just in case the kid turns into a nut job. Me and Mike are just sitting there, wide-eyed and sobering up real quick, thinking, what did we get ourselves into? By this point, we'd stopped responding to his creepy monologue. We were just looking at each other like, is this guy for real? But he keeps going, weaving these dark tales about killers and Wayne and whatnot. We were convinced he was gonna take us somewhere desolate, and do who knows what. The ride felt like it lasted forever. We were stuck in this metal box with a guy who could have moonlighted as a horror story narrator. Every turn, every streetlight we passed, I swear my heart was pounding louder than the rattling cab. Then, just when we thought we were heading straight to the Twilight Zone, the taxi pulled up at our hotel. I've never been so relieved in my life. We didn't waste a second, slapped some cash on the front seat, mumbled a hurried thanks, and practically bolted out of that cab. Looking back, it's one of those experiences that sends shivers down your spine. I don't know if Dave was just some twisted storyteller or if we narrowly escaped a real-life horror show. All I can say is, be careful out there, especially when you're stuck in a taxi with a dude who's got a thing for serial killer stories and weird middle names. You never know where the night might take you. This crazy story happened to me and my buddies not too long ago. We were planning this road trip to meet a girl one of us had been chatting with online. The rental car idea fell through though, and we found ourselves stuck thinking, what now? That's when we decided to take a taxi, a 2-hour ride to the border. So there we were, 3 dudes piling into this taxi, ready for the adventure of a lifetime. The driver seemed cool at first, average-looking guy, maybe in his 40s, with a few extra pounds. He welcomed us with a smile that felt a bit too wide, if you catch my drift. The journey kicks off, and the dude starts chatting. He starts asking us about our plans, where we're headed, who we're meeting. I'm thinking, man, this guy is too nosy, but we brushed it off. As the miles pass, the guy starts getting a bit too interested. Like, he's asking personal questions, digging into our lives like he's known us for years. I'm sitting there, exchanging glances with my buddies, thinking, is this dude for real? But we're polite, trying not to be too suspicious. Now, here's the weird part. He keeps glancing at us through the rearview mirror. I swear, it's like he's sizing us up, evaluating us. It's giving me the creeps, but I'm telling myself, maybe he's just a talkative cabbie. The ride itself is smooth, no issues on the road. We're just cruising, making small talk, and trying not to think too much about the odd vibe we're getting. 2 hours pass, and we finally reach the border. We're all relieved, thinking we made it through without any hiccups. But as we're getting our bags out of the car, the driver drops a bombshell. He turns to us, like it's no big deal, and casually mentions that he's glad he could make it across the border this time. Why? Because, get this, he'd spent time in jail for assaulting a state trooper who caught him drinking on the job. I'm standing there, bags in hand, jaw on the floor. Assaulted a cop? Drinking on the job? Are you kidding me? We just rode for 2 hours with this guy, who apparently has a history of violence against law enforcement. We paid the man, thanked him awkwardly, and practically sprinted away from that taxi. It hit us then, the danger we were unknowingly in. I don't know if he was just bragging or what, but meeting a guy with a criminal record wasn't exactly on our road trip agenda.